I hear you. I absolutely hear you. And I know that some of you feel abandoned by statue companies. You feel like you're left out in the cold. Hey, it's Chris the Batman Statue Collector, and welcome back to another statue chat. And the other day we did a car side chat talking about Tweeterhead doing busts. Some people liking them, some people not liking them, and that did spark a lot of really good conversation. Some people agreed with me, and some people took to the message boards complaining about me. And that's okay. Everybody has that right. It is your right to say what you feel, just like I have the right to express my feelings and how I'm feeling right here on YouTube. But in doing that over the years, I feel like I've had the opportunity to hear all of your voices, and I try to relay that. I try to advocate for you on the other side of things, which is the statue company side, which I've had an opportunity to meet a lot of them, get to know them, and have private conversations. A lot of them reach out to me and say, hey, Chris, what is the community looking for? Hey, Chris, what are you looking for? If you could make the perfect X, Y, and Z character, what would you want to see? And so that has been an awesome privilege to be able to talk to these incredible creatives and statue companies and whatnot. So again, I'm always trying to advocate for what you guys are wanting, which again, that's why I was so frustrated doing that video, because people were still complaining, even though a company like Tweeterhead was trying to bring something collectible, something more affordable to the community. I get all that, right? I get why there's some blowback, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. I want to talk about the disappointment that some of you feel when a company promises something and then doesn't deliver. I get that. Whenever I first started collecting Sideshow, my goal was to have Batman surrounded by his villains. And for a long time, they only did Joker, Harley, Bane a couple times, a couple Catwomans. They did multiple versions, renditions of that character. And it got really boring really quick because I was wanting other characters like Scarecrow, Mr. Freeze, Penguin. And eventually they did all of those characters. Eventually they're doing Clayface on the base for the Batgirl. And so sometimes, I learned this from our good friend Thor Gunderson. If you know Thor, he said patience is the most important thing in this hobby. And he's right, because you have to be patient, which is difficult to do in a scrolling tick, 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 tick society where we don't have we don't have the patience for anything anymore. We don't have that. But with that said, when a statue company says this is what we're doing, and you start planning out your vision and you spend your hard-earned money on that, I get it. I get it. I get where if a company's promising to make this expansive line, and I get why some of you might be hesitant about the bus, because you might like, well, are they just going to do Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman and then call it good? Because other companies have absolutely done that. And it is because of money. And that's the bottom line, is these statue companies are for profit, right? They are not doing handouts. They're creating art and selling it. And so I think a lot of times the companies have the best intentions. Somebody made a comment about this in one of the videos, probably the rant video, and I responded, and I try to look at things from both sides. I always try to look at both sides of the coin. As a counselor, that's what I do in my life. I always try to look at both sides, and I look at the consumer side, which I am one. I also, again, having these, some of these relationships and conversations with the statue companies, I also know things from their side of view. And really, again, it comes down, I think for the most part, again, I don't have all the insight. I'm not the statue company, but from what I gather, it does come down to money and if people are buying or not. An example is like, let's say a 1/6 scale line. Let's say that they bring out Batman and he sells a ton. And then they bring out Superman and he sells pretty good. And then they bring out Wonder Woman. She sells really great. But then let's say they bring out a character maybe like Darkseid or somebody like that, and he sells very, very little. Then the company's like, well, crap. Should we keep investing in this scale if people are going to stop buying? Let's say then you release 2 or 3 more at 6 scale and people don't buy any of those. Well, now a company is in the hole, right? So you look at Tweeterhead. Tweeterhead is a North American company. They're a smaller company. They have a small footprint in terms of staff. They've got, some artists on staff, Chad, Dave Igo. They're a smaller company compared to some of the larger companies. And so if people aren't buying, they're not going to be able to keep throwing money away, basically, right? And so they're going to lose confidence maybe in a line like 1/6. And so then they're listening to the community. They're trying to say, okay, what do you guys want? So I don't know if you can hear that. I've got a big storm blowing in tonight where I am in Kansas. But anyway, when it boils down to, like, sometimes I think a company has to pivot and they have to say, okay, if people aren't buying 1/6, we can either retweak our designs, we could try to up our level of detail and things like that, which Tweeterhead has done. But then if people aren't buying, then they're going to pivot to say, hey, let's try these busts. Let's do that. It's getting crazy windy. I don't know if you hear that out there. But anyway, so companies are having to pivot, right? Or some companies are going bankrupt, which we continue to see where people aren't getting their deliveries of their product. So it is frustrating. I completely understand, but I also understand why a company would quit, or do less. Because if people aren't spending their money, they're not going to keep making them. And with these busts, let's say, all right, guys, so I had to actually stop the recording because the storm was too crazy coming in, blowing in. And so most of the storm is past now, which is, again, crazy. So I do apologize. I have no idea where I left off. I think I was talking about just, consumer confidence. It doesn't really matter what company it is. But anytime somebody's rolling out something new, people might be a little bit hesitant to buy because they don't know if they're going to continue a line or not. I think collectors have been burned so many times. But again, if people aren't buying and the companies are not making, their profit margin, if they're not getting a return on their investment, they're going to have to pivot and do something else, like I was saying. And I think that's what's happened to Tweeterhead, to Sideshow, to Prime 1 at times. I mean, look at Prime 1. They're not doing as many 1/3 scales because people aren't wanting to spend $2,000 all in. So what are they doing? They're pivoting and doing more quarter scale statues, although the quarter scale statues now are as much as the third scales were. Sometimes, if not as much as a third scale statue, which I don't understand. Their bases are bigger. Sometimes there are 2 characters. I get that. But again, it's frustrating when you're like, okay, I'm all in on 1/3 scale from Prime 1. Well, now Prime 1's not going to do it anymore or near as much. So again, that's frustrating. Again, I feel that frustration right with you. So, I mean, you all have very valid points when you don't get what you are hoping for, or we don't get what's promised to us. I get that. I've been in the exact same boat. I feel you. Especially right now with Prime. But I look at like companies like Legendary Beast. They're going to fill that gap for me. So I look elsewhere, right? Am I still going to get Prime 1 stuff? Yes. But I'm looking elsewhere now. That's why I'm excited about what Tweeterhead's doing with the bus. Yes, they might not be for everybody, and yes, you might want a full figure. Me too. But they don't have the license to do it. And so this is what they're making. We can either buy or not buy, right? I'm going to be buying because I think they're awesome. I like the look of them. I think they're really great. Again, I don't have a horse in the race. I don't work with Tweeterhead. I don't work for Tweeterhead. Would love to work for the statue company someday. That'd be pretty awesome. But they're kind enough to send me things to show you guys, and then I send them back. So that, again, being able to see something like that in hand, I want to share my excitement because I do believe in what they're doing. It just is what it is. But again, I do feel for collectors that are not getting what is promised. If you invested in the Superpowers line, let's say, and then they quit doing the Superpowers line to do Tweeterhead 2.0, which I still think that those pieces do mix well with any other 6-scale piece. But again, it's got to be, again, I always try to look at it both sides. It's got to be scary right now for a statue company where people aren't buying things. How much are you going to invest in? How much are you going to throw your money toward this and this and this and just see what sticks? I think in the old days they could do that because people were buying all the time and people had the money to do that. But now we have to be so selective. I think it'd be real stressful to be a statue company because, again, how much money and resources are we going to pour into something not knowing if people are going to buy it or not? And then you're stuck. And then retailers buy it and they're stuck with the stuff for years. And that's when you see sale after sale after sale. You know, it's just an endless cycle. So I feel like this time period right now is just such a gray area, and it does suck to be a buyer right now or to be somebody hopeful. I still think the companies are going to continue to try to excite us. Again, Prime 1 Next Level is an example of that. Again, these busts with Tweeterhead. I feel like just like what like Aunt Adams is doing with PCS and trying those, the coins and stuff like that. Like, companies are trying, and I tip my hat to them for doing that. But again, I understand the anger and frustration too. I really do. And again, now that I've had a couple of days to kind of reflect on things, I completely get where you're coming from, because that's the way I felt as well. Because you just want to complete it. You want those characters again. I want a Ra's al Ghul. I want a Clayface in 3rd scale, in 4th scale. I want Riddler. All these characters. And so when we don't get them, it's frustrating, especially when we're hopeful that they'll come out. And again, patience is the key. I'm very hopeful that you'll get all the characters you want. It might not be this year. It might not be 5 years from now. I don't know. I'm hoping that this dip we're in goes back up. But again, like I said, I completely understand where the anger comes from and the frustration when a company doesn't deliver. I get it. I just think that some companies are at a place now where they just can't take the risk just because people aren't buying. So I don't know. Like I said, we're in a weird spot right now. But what do you think about all this? Do you feel like I'm onto something? Do you feel like, again, I'm just full of hot air and you guys are going to be back to the message boards complaining about me or whatever I'm saying? Again, I just always try to have a voice or an ear to the ground to hear what you guys want, what you're looking for. And again, over the last year, I've just heard a lot of people complaining about prices. And so it is frustrating to me when people complain, when companies are trying, when Sideshow is trying to keep their prices low and Tweeterhead keeps, coming up with something new, busts or whatever. I hear you. Again, I just always try to look at both sides of the coin. But again, let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear if you're still listening to me ramble on. I appreciate it very much. This is a long video. But again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you think I'm completely wrong, good or bad. I would like to hear it, because that's what we have this channel for. It's open dialogue. Again, everybody has a voice. Everybody has an opinion. And nobody's wrong, So again, thank you for listening, watching. I'll see you soon in the Batcave. Bye, everybody. Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching today, and if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button right here on the screen and check out these 2 awesome videos. I think you're going to love them. And also please join us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I would love to have you join in all the fun. Thank you guys so very much for watching. See you in the Batcave.